Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean.
EAGLES. Eagles.
And Merry Christmas, everyone. This is the Malamut Law pregame show ahead of Eagles, Giants, kicking it off Week 16 in the NFL. Thanks for joining us. We hope you guys had a beautiful, lovely, and incredible and very Merry Christmas, of course. I'm Marc Farzetta, along with Bill Colarulo, Legal Hands to the Face podcast in Philadelphia, the Philly Sports Power Hour, and Eagles Hall of Famer Seth Joyner joining us today. First off, Seth, good Christmas, all merry and bright in your world?
It's all perfect, man. No issues, nothing. Just a beautiful day in Arizona, 60 degrees and sunny, baby.
So you already golfed today, like an early morning tee time?
No golf. I'm locked in on football, baby.
Fair enough. Bill, very Merry Christmas for you, I hope.
It's been a great Christmas so far, but I'll tell you what, if things don't go the way they should go in the next few hours, it's not going to be as good as it should be, my man. So let's hope the Eagles, take care of business.
You can't bet your Christmas on the Eagles, man. Stop it.
Today I can. We'll get into it, but I'll be shocked if the Eagles don't take care of business today, Seth.
We're gonna get real into it, but I did start out today with the nice little tweet for everyone. You know, basically I said Bon Natale for everyone except Tommy DeVito. And if you go through Tommy DeVito's game logs, if you watched him, you know the guy gets sacked a lot. I think it's going to be a big factor for today. But before we get into the specifics, to the nitty-gritty, to all that stuff, I got to ask this question. I don't need your official prediction or anything, but it all ends today, right? All the BS, the 3 straight losses, either bad play calls or bad reads from Jalen Hurts, all of that stops today, right? The turnovers, all that. The Eagles win this game today, and we're able to enjoy that Cowboys lost a little bit more that they suffered yesterday, and the Eagles are able to take over, first place, official, separate themselves from the Cowboys a little bit. It all ends today. All that BS and bad stuff, that ends today, right, when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles?
It should. There's been so much swirling around this team, for the last, 2 or 3 weeks, and they haven't figured out a way to get on track. Especially last week against Seattle. I mean, they had that game right there in their grasp. The Cowboys lost last week. We just couldn't stand prosperity and go ahead and take, what the gift that they gave us. And now here we are on Christmas Day. They give us another gift on Christmas Eve. And we damn well better step up, and take this one today. This is a team that we're so much better than. It's not going to take our best, but, it's going to take us going out there and doing what we got to do early in the game to show this team that they have no chance at hanging around in this football game. And if there's ever a time for them to get better, to get well, all the good teams you've seen, they've had 2 to 3 game stints throughout the year where they've looked good, and then they got tripped up for 2 or 3 games. The Eagles, are no different than everybody else. They've had their problems the last 2 or 3 weeks. This is the time against 3 teams that they should beat, 2 teams that they should beat, in the last 3 games, and they should walk away from this, undefeated. There's no doubt about it. If they're problematic, with these 2 teams over the next 3 weeks, then the Eagles' problems are way, 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 way bigger than we ever could imagine or, we could have, anticipated.
No, I'm certainly right there with you. Bill, as far as your confidence level, they'll put all that bad stuff in the rearview mirror. How confident are you that today will be that day where they almost have, so to speak, get-right games to close out the season?
I'm pretty confident. I don't know why I'm confident, because this team really hasn't given us any reason to be confident in them. But when you look up and down these rosters between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants, the Eagles are head and shoulders more talented than this Giant team at almost every single position, if not every single position. And Tommy DeVito, great story for our North Jersey Italians. But when you really take a step back and you look at Tommy DeVito, the guy's only averaging 17 points a game in his 5 starts. He's been sacked 27 times in 5 games. The Giants' offense with Tommy DeVito at quarterback have only put up over 300 yards of total offense once And they've put up under 200 yards of total offense twice. But the way they won those 3 games in a row is 12 turnovers the defense took away. So Eagles got to protect the ball today. So I do have confidence when you look at the rosters. But I will say I don't want to keep it all positive, because the one area I do have concerns is all week you heard from Jalen Hurts, Brian Johnson, Jason Kelsey, Nick Sirianni. We need more explosive plays. No! We need to take what the defense gives us. We need to go methodically down the field. Going for the big play is what got us in trouble in Seattle. So I didn't like that was the message that all of them said this week. So that's one area I'm not confident. I'm hoping they're just saying that and they're going to go on nice, long, methodical drives down the field. But that go for the explosive play mentality is hurting this offense.
No, I absolutely agree with that. And Seth, that is one of the things that Bill just mentioned. You heard from Brian Johnson, you heard from Nick Sirianni, you heard from Jalen Hurts. And it kind of started this question throughout the week. And we even talked about it on the post-game show, last week, where we were saying, is this Jalen Hurts and just terrible decision-making? Or is this the way that the plays are being coached, where he is starting only and always with the deep ball and then working his way back through every single progression? Is every single play call like that? From what it looks like, here's what we can determine. At least Jalen Hurts, he wasn't going for pass interference. That wasn't the number one option there, as Nick Sirianni kind of alluded to earlier in the week. But Jalen Hurts said, yeah, it's an option, but that's not exactly what you're going for. That's not first and foremost. But when it comes to the decision-making, how much, Seth, do you put on Jalen Hurts' shoulders versus what he is coached to do as a quarterback?
As far as listen, I've got this saying that I've held close to the vest for a long time. An old coach told me this. He said, what you see on the field is either being coached or is being tolerated. Okay? So what's really alarming to me is you got Jason Kelsey that's saying the same thing. You're an offensive lineman. Yeah, we want explosive plays, but there's a methodology of how you get to explosive plays. And when teams understand that that's how you're trying to operate, is that you're looking for the big plays, then you're going to get a lot of, quarters coverage. You're going to get a lot of too high safety. You're going to get a lot of that. You have to force defenses to give you the looks that allow you to get that. How do you get that? You get that by taking what the defense is giving you. You get that by running the ball and running it efficiently and effectively. You take the short to intermediate routes, you move the chains, you try to score every single possession, whether it's 3 or whether it's 7. Preferably, you want 7. You want to get down into the red zone area and begin to convert in that area at a high percentage again. If they can do that, that's their game plan for winning. You're not going to get the explosive plays, the big plays down the field just because you want them. And then, you're playing complementary football when you play that way, because there's nothing wrong with that 15-play drive that they had last week that culminated in a touchdown. There's nothing wrong with, the 16-play drive that got stalled out, by the penalty. You got 10 points out of it, and you were up 10-0 in the game. What is wrong with that methodology of that's how you're going to operate? And now your defense stays fresh. Your special teams aren't put in precarious situations. I don't understand, if that has been your mode of operation all year long, and you will admit, from Jalen Hurts to Nick Sirianni to Brian Johnson to even players on the team, that they haven't played their best game. They haven't hit their stride. They haven't been able to do on offense on a consistent level what they really want to do. If that's the case, do you keep banging your head against the wall, this wall of explosive plays and big plays? Do you continuously do that, knowing that teams understand that that's what you want and they're going to take that away? Or do you take what the defense is giving you? Score every possession that you can possibly score, dominate the time of possession, and turn this into a 7 to 8 possession game. There's nothing wrong with that. If the objective is to win the football game, who gives a damn how you win it? Whether you win it with explosive plays or whether you win it by, 5, 12, 10 to 12 plus play yard drives. Nobody cares. You just want to win the game. You're in a 3-game skid, and the things that got you in trouble, you continuously tried to do over the last 3 weeks. Make the adjustment. Being a great head coach and a great offensive coordinator and a great defensive coordinator is all about making the adjustment where you have to. There are going to be games where they're going to be able to get the explosive plays and win in that manner. But there's also games where things aren't going that way, and you see the coverage and you see how you're being defended. In that moment, you got to make the adjustment. You have to.
Yeah, and Bill, I know you and I have talked about this before when it comes to that forcing of a big play. I look at this a lot, and it's a baseball analogy, but I believe it really applies to all sports. It has to do with forcing it. And when it comes to baseball, you're talking about how home runs are supposed to be accidents. You can't try to hit home runs. That's usually when you end up striking out or popping out to the catcher. In football, it's the same type of thing. That's where you end up start throwing those interceptions. And 2 weeks ago, we watched our old friend Dan Orlovsky break it down on ESPN, talk about how the Eagles were forcing things. And then this Seahawks game happened where you see them forcing the ball downfield when they're up 4 points in the fourth quarter with 8:15 left to go in the game, and they try to bomb it out to Quez Watkins down the middle of the field. The ball is underthrown. It gets picked off. Same thing happens on Jalen Hurts' last throw of the game where they're trying to at least get into field goal range. He doesn't see Kenny Gainwell leaking out there, and he tried to force it down the field to make the big play. But, Bill, when these coaches talk specifically, not just Jalen Hurts, but when the coaches talk, and this is how I lean more towards it's being coached, Seth, to your point, instead of just being tolerated. You look at this Eagles offense, Bill, and they keep on doing that same exact thing where they always talk about getting the big splash plays and limiting turnovers. If you're forcing the big splash plays, Bill, you're going to end up giving the football away at an alarming rate, similar to what Jalen Hurts has done this season and what this offense has done this season. So where do they find that happy medium? Because I'll agree with Seth, when it comes to methodical and long drives, as you were talking about as well, oh my goodness gracious, they feel like they have been few and far between. And when they do enjoy them, and the Seahawks game is a perfect example of that, they do a lot of the things that we call for, whether it's motion, whether it's throwing to a running back out of the backfield, whether it's establishing the run, and then they get away from it. So where, Bill, do they find that happy median in being able to find that long sustained drive and that offense that is not giving the football away at an alarming rate?
It doesn't make any sense, Farzy. And as you're saying, it makes even less sense when you talk about Nick Sirianni constantly preaches you have to protect the football. And now you have an Eagles team that has a -6 turnover differential on the season. That's 23rd in the NFL. So, yeah, you want the explosive plays. That's all they keep talking about. But if you're also saying in the same sentence to protect the football, it doesn't make sense that they are forcing the ball down the field. And this is where I have an issue with some of Brian Johnson's play calling and play designs, because you look at the Miami Dolphins, a prime example, or even the Cowboys yesterday in that Miami game. They had explosive plays, but you didn't have to necessarily take deep shots to get them. You hit a guy on a crossing route that's done properly. You've seen it with Tyreek Hill. You saw it with CeeDee Lamb. That yards after catch, which A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith can be really good at, if the play is designed properly, can turn into an explosive play without you taking that deep risk. But I love the methodical drives. The fact that they talk about all the time, oh, it's not realistic to go on a 15-play drive. That's been Nick Sirianni's mentality. It's the same reason they play defense so passively, because their mentality is, we want you to try to go 15 plays down the field. But Seth talked about the one that Seattle had, in the beginning of the game, the Eagles against Seattle, that 15-play drive, and said, he didn't have a problem with it. I loved it. Not only did I not have a problem with it, I loved it because you have a defense that, let's be honest, stinks. The Eagles defense stinks, Mark. They're 22nd in the league in yards against, 26th in the league in points against. They're the worst defense on third down. They're the 28th worst defense in the red zone. So why would you not want to go on long, methodical drives and win the time of possession battle and keep the weakest part of your team, its defense, on the sidelines as much as possible? So it doesn't make sense to me. And when you talk about it being coached, Nick Sirianni has said it repeatedly at press conferences about what he wants in this team. So it's not making sense to me that they're coaching that to these players. And maybe it's Christmas. We'll all get our wish. The Giants are 29th in the league against the run. Wouldn't it be nice, Mark and Seth, to see a game where they actually establish the run early, stick with the run, and win football games with the run? Because you look at, they went to the Super Bowl last year. top 5 rushing offense. They won the Super Bowl in 2017, top 5 rushing offense. Seth says it every week. You win football games in this league by being balanced and having an ability to run the football. It's Christmas, Brian Johnson. Let's give the fans what they want. Let's run the football today.
Farzy, I'll say this. If you go all the way back to the Dallas game, and I'm looking at my notes here, the Eagles beat the Cowboys. They had 3 series of 11 plays or more. They scored a touchdown on all 3. Against the Chiefs, they didn't have any long drives at all. Really, the longest drive that they had a touchdown on. It was 9 plays. The second longest was a 7-play, 2 7-play drives. You fast forward, to the Bills. They had, 1 explosive series, a double-digit plays. They scored a touchdown. So this theory that you can't score touchdowns, on long drives doesn't make sense. It doesn't fly. The Eagles against the 49ers, the first 2 series, 12 plays. Unfortunately, they had to settle for the 2 field goals. They weren't effective in the red zone. And then, they had some more in the second half, but by that time the game was pretty much over. And then, the second, Cowboys drive is the same thing. The Cowboys had 4 series of double-digit drives, and they all resulted in points. The majority of them in touchdowns. The Eagles had 1, and it resulted in a field goal. Okay, and then obviously, the Seahawks, you got the first and the third, and then the first out of the half, they went 11 plays for 75 yards and scored a touchdown. So this theory that it doesn't work, it doesn't ring true. There's no validity to it. And then at the other end of the spectrum, people have been talking about, where's Jalen? Where's his culpability in all of this? Okay. If the mindset is explosive plays, then he's always looking for explosive plays. So he's not going to be looking for those layups that are underneath. This requires, and you guys know Jalen Hurts is not the type of guy that's going to go lone wolf. He's not going to just line up and say, "Hey, I'm throwing it deep this time. I don't care what. I'm throwing it deep. We need 3 yards for a first down, but I got one-on-one with A.J. Brown out here, so I'm going to take the 50-50 shot." That's what he's being coached to do. So this backlash that we're having, it all begins with the coaches, because while the quarterback has to go through his progression and has to make right decisions on the field, the coaching staff is who facilitates that during the week of preparation and in your meeting time. If you're not telling him, "Hey, look deep," there's nothing wrong with looking deep, but understand where your safety valve is. If that guy, if he's double teamed or he's well covered, I know that you had, situations in the past where you throw a 50-50 ball up and you expect for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith to make a play on it, okay? But we can't live like that anymore, because that's not fruitful and that hasn't been working. Take your look down the field. If it's not there, let's come back to the check down. The quarterback should know where his outlet is at all times. And I will continue to say it, because the rhetoric continues to get louder and louder, the worse and worse that this team has played over the last 4 weeks, that, Jalen is regressing. Jalen is looking a lot like Carson Wentz, when it all fell apart. Understand, this is the mindset. This is the mindset of the staff. And until they start to, explain to him and communicate to him that we're going to methodically go down the field, you're going to continue to see this. Carson was trying to make the big play. Carson was trying to erase the ghost of Nick Foles. Okay, there's a marked difference. There's no comparison whatsoever when you think about the leadership, the mindset, and the capabilities of playing the quarterback position, and where Carson Wentz fell off and what you're beginning to see in Jalen Hurts. It all begins and starts with how he's being coached and what he's being told to look for in the game plan.
I agree with everything you just said. And the biggest reason I have confidence in Jalen Hurts, even more than what I had in Carson Wentz, is what's between the ears. And Jalen Hurts, we've been joking about this for 3 years. The guy's on mental steroids. That's how mentally tough this guy is. But I want to go back and focus on the one term you used, Seth, and because I think it illustrates a good point about other quarterbacks, is that sometimes you do have guys that aren't maybe team-friendly guys, that are me-first guys, and they do go, quote, lone wolf. Where's the line for a guy like Jalen who knows that that big play isn't exactly what they need? And the best example of it, and Bill, you and I have talked about this one before a lot, when you talk about that play at the end of the game against the Commanders, where they aired it out to A.J. Brown down the sideline. They ended up getting the touchdown. A.J. Brown then unfortunately gets the taunting penalty. Next thing you know, the Commanders come back, and you're playing a longer game than you need to. It's a tougher game than it should have been. And then in this game against the Seahawks last week, in the fourth quarter, they're up 4 with 8:15 left in the game, and they air it out to Quez Watkins. We spend a lot of time, I feel, trying to discuss who has final say over this, play calling, defensive play calling, offensive play calling, front office moves, Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie meddling and all that. But I think one thing that is just always undeniable is that the quarterback has final say over where the football goes. If it's a passing play, obviously, he has the final say over where that football goes. So, Seth, do you feel like Jalen Hurts is a behind-the-scenes political savvy enough guy to just come off the field and say, yeah, the first read didn't feel like it was there with Quez, didn't feel like he had enough separation, or maybe he waits for Kenny Gainwell to leak out of the backfield into the flat where he could get 10, 15 yards, get you into field goal range for Jake Elliott at the end of last week's game. Do you think Jalen Hurts has that part of his, office politics behind the scenes to be able to get away with not going for that big play, even if he's coached to do it?
I'm not so sure that he's the type of guy that's going to deviate from the game plan. I think if they practice all week in the mindset and the communication between Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson to him is that this is what we're looking for, even when he has autonomy to make changes on the fly, to step up to the line of scrimmage and survey the defense and see an opportunity, okay? He's going to make the right decision in my opinion. But sometimes those decisions are already predetermined. If you get the look that you want, he's not looking for anybody else. That's why he doesn't see the other guys as open. He looks at the situation, and great quarterbacks do that. They look at the situation and say, okay, if I got a one-on-one situation, I got zero coverage. Okay, where's my best matchup? Where can I take advantage of this situation? Okay, and he's going to look at A.J. Brown 9 times out of 10 and think that there's not a single cornerback in the National Football League that can cover his number one wide receiver in a one-on-one situation, and that's where he's going with the ball. Everybody else winning their battles, be damned. That's where he's going to go with the ball. So he is not making these decisions as far as on his own. These are game plan decisions that have been talked about throughout the week, okay? And when you see him take the ball, not look the safety off or not look the rest of the defense off and then come back over here, you know that he's already predetermined where he wants to go with the football. That's not winning football. It's not winning football on his part, and it's not winning football on the Eagles coaching staff to put him in that mindset that that's the way he's going to think in certain situations, okay? The ball has to go to the open guy. I don't care where he is. His job as a quarterback, like he said last week, is to be the point guard. His job is to distribute the football. And it's his job to look at the defense and understand what he's looking at and go beyond just A.J. Brown. And I get it, A.J. Brown's a bad dude, okay? But it's his job to go beyond that and say to himself, okay, if A.J. doesn't win right now, where do I go? What's my other option? Who is the other guy that I know that I can count on to win his battle and get off of him right now and get the damn ball to the other guy? That's part of playing quarterback. That's part of being an efficient offense. And I believe in a lot of ways that is why this offense hasn't operated along the lines that it operated last year, because he's being told what to do. He's being told where to go. The game plan is dictating it, and he's not going to deviate from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bill, I don't know how this is hitting your ears, and I don't disagree with what Seth's saying, but this is more about what the Eagles are doing, because I think Seth just described rather eloquently what the Eagles are doing and how they're coaching them. But at what point does common sense become common? And when you have a lead,
it ain't so common. It ain't so common no more, Farzy.
It's I always say, Seth. I say common sense is just barely common enough to be called common. But where do they stop making these mistakes where this isn't part of the game plan? This isn't part of the coaching. The coaching should be, hey, do what we need to do to win here. Like, for instance, if you have the ball late in the game and you're driving and you can milk the clock a little bit more and you can continue to have the success that you've been having at different points in the game with those long, methodical drives and running the football, then where the hell is that? Where's that common sense kick in, Bill?
Let me say one thing right quick.
Okay,
I believe that there's tremendous pressure, not only on Nick Sirianni, but on Jalen Hurts from upstairs and the analytics department to operate in a certain way. Because I can assure you, if Doug Peterson had to go in and give an explanation every Tuesday or Wednesday morning for why he did this and why he did that, Nick Sirianni is certainly doing the same exact thing. So the pressure is huge.
Yeah, I'm not going to completely absolve Jalen Hurts. He needs to play better, but Seth's exactly right. If that pressure is coming from the top and it's coming from not only Nick Sirianni, but upper management on how you're supposed to play this game and things you're supposed to do, that's the philosophy. That is what they practice every single day. That's what they're talking about in the film room. So, look, you can't absolve Jalen Hurts entirely, but it definitely is not just him. This is the entire organization's philosophy. And I also think the play designs, and I know we're going to get to John McMullen in a second, but I also think the play designs leave a lot to be desired. You look at last year, and this is what I was talking about earlier about explosive plays doesn't necessarily mean you have to throw the ball down the field. They were in the top 5 in yards after catch last year. They were averaging 5.8 yards after catch on every single completion. This year, they're 25th in the NFL at 4.8. That's play design to me. That is not scheming your players open to get the ball in space to be able to do things after the ball is in their hands. Personnel hasn't changed. You still have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert was out for a little while, but you still have all the same personnel. That, for me, comes down to play design and offensive scheme and game planning.
All right, we're going to jump into this a little bit further with our friend John McMullen right now. Birds 365, our NFL insider here at the JAKIB Sports channel. John, welcome in. I hope your Christmas was just lovely. Welcome back to work as we all look forward to the Eagles-Giants game today. I have to jump into this right away. Just any word on inactives? We've been hearing about Avonte Maddox. We've been hearing about Zach Cunningham, also Devontae Smith. What are you hearing as far as who's up, who's down today?
Yeah, Avonte Maddox was already ruled out, guys. He was ruled out on Saturday. So still some, remember, he's been out since week 2. So you need a little bit more time in practice from a conditioning standpoint to get ready. So hopefully Avonte will be back. If not next week, the week after, certainly. But he's coming, just not this week. Biggest news pregame is Nick Morrow, who was questionable, is not playing. So you're going to have both starting linebackers out, Nick Morrow, Zach Cunningham, and you're down to Shaq Leonard, Ben Van Sumeren, and Brandon Smith, who's a practice squad elevation. So, Shaq Leonard, who was signed early December, is going to wear the green dots. I think you're going to see a ton of 3 safety looks, so get ready for that. The Eagles are really behind the 8 ball when it comes to the linebacker position in this particular game. Nick Morrow, I know he's gotten a lot of criticism, but you take out the one game, I think he's played pretty solidly. He's worn the green dot, so that's a big loss for this particular game.
John, what's the word? What's the word on the secondary? Obviously, I felt like Keely Ringo, played well enough to warrant another start this week with Darius Slay being out. I thought that James Bradbury struggled. He was the target in last week's game. Eli Ricks is better on the outside than he is on the slot. Both of those guys played extremely well last week. Any word on, what the starting cornerback situation is looking like this week?
Yeah, it's going to be Keely Ringo, and it's going to be James Bradbury. Eli Ricks will mix in most likely for Ringo. I think one of the gifts of this game, and by the way, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody out there. New York Giants. This is as close to a get-right game as you'll get. This is a bad passing team. So I think this is a chance to build some confidence for that secondary. In a lot of ways, the Giants don't even try to throw the ball and give um, um, Tommy DeVito opportunities to throw the ball down the field. So their goal is to sort of play a close game, get it into the fourth quarter, try to steal it. So half of it is baked in, to be honest. So I think this is a great game to get James Bradbury some confidence back. But yeah, you'll see both Ringo and Rex out there, and it should help them as well. I mean, as far as the NFL goes, I mean, it's not college football. You never get a gimme, but as far as coming off a 3-game losing streak, getting in a situation that's very desirous, this is probably as good as it's going to get. So you got to take advantage of it.
Merry Christmas, John. It's good to see you, my man. Let's talk about the Giants defense for a second, because Wink Martindale, as we know, loves to blitz. In fact, the Giants blitz more than anyone in the NFL, with the exception of the Minnesota Vikings. But they don't get to the quarterback often. They're in the bottom of the league when it comes to sacks. Do you expect him to be the same guy we've seen over and over and blitz Jalen Hurts a ton today?
Yeah, I do. He's over 40%, as you mentioned. The only one who blitzes more is Brian Flores. I think the one thing, if you look at the New York Giants, the one thing they've done well this year is create turnovers. They're +6 in the turnover ratio. The Eagles are -6. Kayvon Thibodeau's having a breakout year. He's over 10 sacks. He's got 3 forced fumbles. And you talk about Jalen Hurts and what he's been doing. He's already doubled his turnovers from last season. He's fumbled the ball pretty consistently. So if you want to look at how the Giants can win this game, it's probably by creating turnovers, getting some short fields, letting Saquon Barkley do his thing. Because, as I mentioned, they're not going to throw the ball outside the numbers. They're not going to press you downfield. So they got to come up with some of those big plays to stay in this game. And the easiest way to do that is obviously create turnovers. And the Eagles have been susceptible to those.
John, I got to ask you about the report that came out about the confidence of Jalen Hurts within the Novacare complex, whether or not they're still confident in a man they just guaranteed $150 million to, I believe it is. Where are they right now, and what do you make of a report that the Eagles right now aren't looking at him with the same eyes they did before the season started?
Yeah, Jeff did that, Jeff McClain. I think a lot of people didn't listen to the podcast. There's a lot of context to that. Basically, all that was is Jalen's very reserved and very to himself. And maybe some people look at that and say he's got to be a more vocal, more identifiable leader in times of adversity. But I don't think it's a big deal from the franchise's perspective. I don't think anybody at the Novacare complex is saying, ooh, Jalen Hurts may not be the franchise quarterback. And the comparisons to Carson Wentz, look, this guy's just mentally tough. He's proven that time and time again. I don't think he's going to fall apart. This is just some adversity, and they need to get out of it. And I think they get out of it today. And I think if you look at the NFL as a whole, Kansas City struggling today, Dallas loses again. Other than San Francisco, I mean, everybody's had these issues. And the Eagles have a very good chance over these last 3 games to get back in the forefront of being the best team not named San Francisco. And if you can get to the championship game and roll the dice, you can think of worse things in the world.
John, how long can this philosophical approach by the Philadelphia Eagles continue to plague them before they're willing to shift? Not only did you hear the quarterback talk about explosive plays, but you also heard the head coach talk about explosive plays. I missed Brian Johnson's presser this week, but I did catch Jason Kelce. Now, when the center starts talking about explosive plays, now you have to believe and realize that this is a philosophical and organizational philosophical approach, that's at stake here. 15-play drives are too long. We need more explosive plays. And I think everybody agrees that the attempts at explosive plays are probably what's gotten the Eagles in more problems than not this year. And yes, they had success in the past. They won a Super Bowl in the past. They got to a Super Bowl last year. But every year is a different year and the dynamics are different. At what point in time, can they honestly look at themselves in the mirror and say we need to shift how we look at playing offensive football in the moment, at least until we can use another method to right the ship like they did by running the ball in weeks 2 and 3 and then get back to our passing game. They just seem hell-bent, defiant almost about this. We got to throw the ball and make explosive plays down the field.
Well, they want to win you're right, Seth, in that it's organizational. So they want to win the explosive play battle. You'll hear Nick Sirianni say it all the time. The goal is to win the explosive play battle, the turnover battle. If you win those two things, basically an act of God has to happen for you to lose the football game. And the statistics prove that out. Now, too often the Eagles haven't won either of those categories this year, certainly not as much as in years past. So they want to get back to a team that wins the explosive play battle, wins the turnover battle, and then they think they'll get back to being what fans think the Philadelphia Eagles should be. I don't think that's changing. I don't think it necessarily should change because of 1 3-game losing streak when you add in the context of San Francisco playing the way they're playing, Dallas the way they're playing at home, and then you have one sort of bad loss in Seattle, but you're in a position to win it. All teams, as I mentioned, go through these types of hiccups. It doesn't mean you go away from your overriding philosophy. In fact, I would argue the Eagles panicked a little bit moving away from Sean Desai. But I heard you guys before I came on talking about the throw to A.J. Brown. And look, I said the same thing on the postgame show. To us and to the naked eye, it looked like, what the heck are you doing there as the quarterback? And then you get to talk to the coaches during the week. You get to talk to the quarterback. You get to talk to the receivers. And you understand what was trying to be done. And it was a middle read. That's always going to be outside in, top down, unless you get cover 2. He didn't get cover 2. So he threw the ball to where he was supposed to throw the ball. And I heard Seth, discussing, that's the problem. That's more of a coaching problem. So you should put that on the coaching staff and, give the quarterback more autonomy. But guess what? That's a modern football problem. That is not just an Eagles problem. That is a modern football problem. If you go back to Sean McVay, when he took this league by storm, he was the first one to be in Jared Goff's ear until the communication cut off. If you go back to Chip Kelly, not wanting a quarterback like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning because he didn't want anybody running the game from the line of scrimmage. From a larger philosophy, I don't agree with that kind of stuff. But that's the modern NFL, and that's the way it is. It's not just Philadelphia; it's almost everywhere.
But John, it's not a 3-game sample size. If we're honest with ourselves, this Eagles offense is nowhere near what it was last year. And just by the grace of good fortune, this team got to 10-1. There were plenty of games in there where they flirted with trouble and got away with it and won games. Okay, so it's not just a 3-game sample size. It's one of those situations where I've heard the offensive coordinator, the head coach, and the quarterback explicitly say, we haven't played our best game yet. We haven't put it all together yet. We haven't done this. We haven't done that. Okay, and here we are in week 16, and this is still the battle cry that we haven't put it together. We got to play better. We got to get better. Okay, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Okay, so no matter what, we can talk about this being the new NFL, and we can talk about when you look at the Rams. Okay, the Rams basically bought a Super Bowl. They bought a Super Bowl. They bought the best teams that they could get, and they made the switch at quarterback because they knew that the quarterback that they had could not operate under pressure situations. okay? And they had a great defense. You know, they're 2 years removed from that Super Bowl. They struggle, and then all of a sudden, they got a running back now. They're running the football, okay? They got one of the best possession receivers in the game. They go on and find a steal in the 5th or 6th round in Puka Nacua, you know, and they are lighting people up with the short to intermediate route. They are not throwing the ball explosive ways down the field. That's not what they're doing. And the Eagles, you know, listen, I get it. I get that this is the new age, the new way. And people may think that I'm a dinosaur for wanting the Eagles to play ball that way. I'm all for however it works. I know for a fact that the run game mixed in with the short to intermediate pass game creates the explosive plays that you want, instead of you wanting them and forcing the ball down the field against teams that know that that's what you want. At some point in time, you have to make the adjustment. You cannot keep banging your head against the wall in the name of this is the philosophy that we believe in. Because as a head coach and football people, you know that every year is different. Every game is different. Every series is different for that matter. And he who is not willing to make the adjustments and make the changes that are necessary in order for you to win, and I don't care whether the analytics are involved or we're talking about, you know, the ground and pound, okay? That's a fact. When the pass game is there, I'm all for it. Take advantage of it. But if it ain't working, you can't keep trying to force a square peg into a round hole. It does not work, okay? And this team is not going to realize its goals, not going to get to where it wants to be with this tunnel vision mentality that they're taking from an offensive perspective. And it puts the defense in danger.
Well, I would argue if you go back to the 10-1 start, and I realize it's difficult for people to do, their offense was astonishingly similar to the numbers of last season. The one difference being the turnovers. The defense is the one that took the step back, and that was where there was a lack of style points. Even if you look at today, during the 3-game losing streak, obviously they've struggled. Only 16.
Oh boy,
I think we lost John. Unfortunately, must have gotten disconnected. That seemed pretty abrupt. But no, to your point, that
I think the Eagles were on the broadcast and clipped them out.
Yeah, I think they did. They pulled it.
Get him out of here! They're telling company secrets. Get him out of here!
Get him off right now.
No, it's funny whenever you say this, and you always go back to it. And I mean, it's a good way to illustrate it. You are no dinosaur. People will say, "Oh, this guy's a dinosaur. It's not the way the game's played." I think people realize that it's not the way the game's played, but that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't mean people have to like it. And I always see the comments, scroll up here whenever you start talking about running the football, and it's a very simple thing. I don't get it. This was the biggest downfall. Well, shouldn't say that. This is one of the downfalls of Chip Kelly, not acknowledging time matters. And when you can control that clock, you can control a lot. We have John back now. John, thanks for jumping back on with us. Don't know what happened there, but you're kind of
that was me.
To your point, what winds up happening is people don't want to look objectively at the better teams in the league and understand what it is that they do well. Okay, you can look at Miami and you can look at San Francisco, and you can look at them and say, well, that's the blueprint. But if you really get down to the nuts and bolts of it, they run the football. They're a balanced offense. Okay, they create explosive plays by throwing short to intermediate routes that their wide receivers then turns into, explosive plays. So there's a big difference between, catching a guy man to man across the field and throwing him a ball and he turns it up to 68, a la, Deebo Samuels, a la, CeeDee Lamb yesterday. It's a big difference, than doing that. But what people don't realize, if you go and you look at these teams, at these top teams, if you look at them from a statistical standpoint, they throw the ball under 20 yards a lot, and they run the ball down with their offense that allows them to execute a wide open, game plan. So when you think about it from that standpoint, those people that oppose, what I'm saying, they need to be realistic in how they look at it, because Pro Football Focus, everybody else who lives on this hill of the analytics, they're going to give you can skew numbers however you want to look at them, okay? But statistics game don't lie. when you look at, the game book and you see that San Francisco threw the ball 27 times and ran it 28 times, okay, you can talk about it in any terms you want to. But the fact of the matter is, what makes that offense go is Christian McCaffrey running the football and then doing all the other things off of that. So I don't know. I digress. Let me turn it back over to John. I know he was in the middle of a thought.
Yeah, I would just say after what I was saying people have forgotten that 10-1 start when the offense was astonishingly similar to last season's number-wise, with the exception of the turnovers. Defensively was the issue. If you look at A.J. Brown, he's over 1,300 yards already. Only Eagles wide receiver in history to do that 2 consecutive seasons. Devontae Smith is going to go over 1,000 yards maybe this week. Now he's got a knee problem. That's something to keep an eye on. We'll see how healthy Devontae is. DeAndre Swift already has a career high in rushing. He's 5th in the NFL in rushing. I mean, this offense is productive. It hasn't been productive over this 3-game streak, and it's disappointing the way that they played against San Francisco and Dallas. I get it, but those are 2 of the better teams in the NFL. The defense has been the bigger issue. We'll see if they can smooth things out with Matt Patricia down the stretch. I would say it's not changing anytime soon. And look, the only number that matters, Seth, you're right, man. I say it to Jody all the time. Jody's the numbers guy. My partner in First 365. There's 3 kinds of lies: damn lies, and statistics. Anybody can morph them any way they want to morph them. What I will say, the one number that matters, money. Who do they pay? That's who they're going to rely on. That's AJ. That's Devontae. That's Dallas. You're not relying on Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell and even DeAndre Swift. They build the way they build. They're going to build around. They're going to play around their superstars. That, to me, is the easiest answer anybody can give, and I'm shocked how many people in Philadelphia don't realize it. That's what you do. And that's not Philadelphia. There's 32 NFL cities. Well, New York obviously has a couple teams. That's what you do in every city. Every city. You build around the players you identify as the stars. Eagles are no different than anybody else.
I would never, ever refute that, John. Ever refute that. But if you got to give the other team credit too. Teams have spent the last 9 months dissecting and cutting this offense apart. And while A.J. Brown has had a lot of success this year, and Devontae Smith is going to have a lot of success this year, the fact still remains is that this offense isn't operating at the level that it needs to. And we can talk about the money. Yeah, I get that. If you're paying a guy $25 million, you want him to be your flagship guy. The guy that's making $50 million a year, you want him to be your flagship guy. But at the end of the day, the reason why you're paying those guys that is because you want to win football games. Is it about what you're paying them and their production, or is it about you winning football games and getting back to the Super Bowl and collecting the trophies? At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And I get that. I understand that. But if that's how you're going to lock in, me as a defensive coordinator, I'm going to do everything I can to take Devontae, A.J. Brown away. Beat me with somebody else, okay? Teams don't do it. A lot of teams haven't done it, but I can assure you San Francisco knows how to do it. Dallas knows how to do it, and these are the teams you're going to have to beat to get back to the promised land. So they better come up with a way to incorporate everybody else into what they're doing and be more balanced in how they do things than just A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown. Because
it's not just A.J. As we mentioned with Devontae and Dallas getting involved, and DeAndre Swift has never run for more yards in his career than he has this year, and he's got 3 games to go. He's going to crack 1,000 for the first time in his career. So offensively, they need to play better. But I don't think it's about changing the philosophy, especially in Week 16. I mean, you can't do it. We've seen that defensively. Matt Patricia was very honest. Can't change much. You can change things in a moment. You can come up with a better play call in a certain situation, but you're not changing your whole philosophy with 3 games to go in the season, especially when you're already at 10 wins. And the luxury the Eagles have over this final month, they don't have to win games. They're in the playoffs. Now, they want to be as high as a seed as they can possibly be. They certainly want to play a potential game against Dallas in Lincoln Financial Field, not AT&T Stadium. They know they're probably going to have to go to San Francisco if they get to the championship game. But they have a luxury of trying to get it right, and that's what I call this game. This is a get-right game for the Eagles. Nobody's going to be happy. They're supposed to beat this team. If they don't play well, people are going to be unhappy. If they lose, people are going to jump off the wall with it. Even if they win by 20 points, it's not going to mean anything because that's how bad this football team is out there with Tommy DeVito. But what it gives the Eagles is a chance to get their confidence back and build up to where they were, at least when they were 10-1.
I'll still take at least a 20-point victory. And, John, I hope that's what your prediction is going to be. But what is your prediction for Eagles-Giants today?
Pretty easy win. I'm going to go not quite 20. I'm going to go 33-17. I think it's going to be – I mean, the Eagles are 16-3 over the past 19 when they had some good teams in there. 10-0, 10 straight at Lincoln Financial Field. Yeah, I mean, if they lose this one, I'll be the first one on the post-game show. I'll be panicking with everybody else.
Fair enough. John McMullen, always great catching up. Thanks so much, and Merry Christmas to you once again. I hope your prediction's accurate.
Thanks, guys.
Can't wait to talk to you in the post game, John.
Yeah, me neither. All right, we're way behind here. We're going to be right back with our final predictions for this game coming up. And also, Seth and Bill, I have to ask you, of your childhood, aside from your prediction, what was the best Christmas gift you ever got as a kid? Oh, I'll ask those questions when we come back here on the Malamut Law pregame show.
Any professional sports coach will tell you there's no substitution for preparation. At Malamut & Associates, that is a tenet by which we live. We prepare from day one for victory. Anything less is not acceptable.
Go for the pulls and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near. Shop, have a beer. Christmas shopping shouldn't be hard. Give your friends a Hooters gift card.
This year, stuff their stockings and yours too with a one-size-fits-all gift card. Buy a $25 Hooters gift card and receive a $5 Santa's bonus card. Make it Hooters for the holidays.
Eat chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near. Gift cards are here. Good at Hooters everywhere now. Hooters gifts are always favored.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Any professional sports coach will tell you there's no substitution for preparation. At Malamut & Associates, that is a tenet by which we live. We prepare from day one for victory. Anything less is not acceptable.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back to the Malamut Law pregame show. Marc Farzetta, Bill Colarulo, Seth Joyner on the show. Adam Malamut will be joining us, and we got from Malamut 1 the Batmobile of fandom and family fun. Adam Malamut is joining us right now. How you doing, Adam?
You know, I thought I was the getting left at the altar here. I didn't know what was happening, but awesome conversation, awesome talk about game plan. And guys, Merry Christmas.
Merry
Hope
Christmas,
you guys are all having
Adam.
a great holiday.
Same to you. Are you
Good
with
to
the?
man.
Are you at the stadium? Are you home? Or did you sneak out to the Sprinter van? What's the deal?
Farzy, that's none of your business. No, Farzy, actually, I have the in-laws here, and I've got a lot of people in the house. So I just packed everybody into the Sprinter. We're all driving to your house. So I want to thank you for the invite. They don't take up a lot of space, but they're really excited about spending the next few days with you and your family.
You're a day late, man. You're a day late. Farzi's Italian. The big night's Christmas Eve. You should have been there last night.
Listen, Bill, Farzi's a party all week long. Come on.
Spoiler.
Seth, you're too far away. I couldn't drive to you.
How we feeling? Adam, how we feeling, brother? How we feeling today?
Listen. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling desperate. I'm feeling like the Eagles need to prove what they really are about. I listen to you guys. I agree with everything that you guys have said. I think that this discussion about going for the big play is ridiculous. Seth has talked a couple weeks ago. Every week he's talked about, getting these 4 or 5 yard chunks. You win games like that. Talking about going for these big plays, that to me is desperation. So if we're going to go out there and we're going to win this game, we need to do this the way that we're built, not the way that somebody, once played a game of Madden on Xbox and they decided to start throwing the ball downfield. Let's go out there and win the damn game and get 5 yards of carry. I mean, that's what this team does. They get 5 yards of carry. And by the way, my buddy Carson asked me to predict this. You can't really ask for a prediction, but I'm going to tell you the giant killer Boston Scott will see the end zone.
So question for you, because you were talking about the philosophy with the Eagles, and obviously I have my issues with the philosophy of always going for the big play. We know Seth does as well. But one thing you could say about Nick Sirianni that we've heard he's very good at and we've seen over the last couple of years is the culture he's built. I know Adam's real big on culture at Malamut and Associates, and Sirianni's built a great culture, but this is the most adversity he has faced now as a head coach. You look at 2021, there were no expectations. Last year, really no adversity at all. Jalen Hurts gets hurt. They lose 2 games with Gardner Minshew. Outside of that, no adversity. Easiest playoff run I ever remember as an Eagles fan. Now he's facing some real adversity. What do we learn about Nick Sirianni as a head coach over the next few weeks?
Well, Bill, that's a great question. There is no adversity when all you're doing is winning, right? The adversity is what Jalen Hurts did his entire career. So now it's Nick Sirianni's time to step up, show what kind of leader he is. If he can't get control of these guys' emotions and get control of the game plan, I think he's going to lose some of this locker room. And unfortunately, I think a lot of it's going to be the veterans that he needs so dearly to mentor these younger players in the locker room. Adversity is something that you use to overcome. You don't have to overcome when you're winning. But when you're getting your teeth kicked in by teams that you should be walking all over, Jets, there's no excuse for it. If we lose today, I'm telling you, Sirianni, and I like Nick Sirianni. I don't believe anybody's job should rest on one game, but he will have lost the locker room, and there needs to be some talk about what we're going to do for the future here.
Listen, I'll say this, culture is only a factor when you're winning. When you're losing, the culture can be fractured, in an instant. Everything hinges upon winning. When you're a head coach, when you talk about buy-in establishes the culture because the players believe in what you're selling and they see the fruits of it because they're winning. As the team begins to fall apart and fracture because they're not winning football games, that whole culture thing goes out of the window because the players don't buy into it and don't believe it. Now, I'm not doom and gloomer as far as Nick Sirianni and his staff is concerned, but some of the things that we've been hearing over the last 3 weeks would tell you that some of that culture is fractured, that some of that belief is fractured. Where there's smoke, there's fire. When you start getting all of these things that start seeping out and you start getting things that's leaked from the organization. When the organization leaks something, they want it put out. They want people to know about it. when things stay in house, like this whole thing with Matt Patricia, they didn't have to tell the world that they were making a change. You know, if there's not going to be that much change because it's so late in the season, then why really make the change? They could have just as easily have said, "Hey, you know, we're going to move Sean Desai upstairs in the box, give him a better vantage point, be able to see what's going on. Matt Patricia's going to be down, you know, on the sideline. They're going to confer, and Matt's going to signal in, you know, the defense." That's all they had to say. We didn't have to go through this whole hoopla about, you know, why we're switching coordinators in week 15 of the season, and then listen to Darius Slay, you know, in the locker room this past week talk about how they failed Sean Desai because, you know, he was fired essentially or demoted, however you want to put it. You know, so culture is a big thing. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's a major, major thing. But the culture is an incumbent upon your ability to get players to believe in what you're selling enough so they can begin to see the fruits of that success. You know, and as a coach, you know, I need to know that you care about me as a player, that you care about, you know, my position in this organization, you know, that I'm a part of, you know, what will help this team win, you know, and then, you know, my desires as a player obviously comes last, you know, but that's all a byproduct, in my opinion, of being able to win, you know, and as long as this team was winning, culture was great. All of a sudden they lost 2 games in a row to 2 critical foes, and everything went to hell in a handbasket, you know, for the last 3 weeks with all of these, you know, conversations about what's going on inside the organization, how they feel about Jalen and, you know, potentially AJ Brown being, you know, a diva and, you know, Nick Sirianni on the hot seat. These are things that are a result. This is where the foundation of culture begins to crack when teams go through, you know, tough times. And you're 100% right, Adam. You know, and Farzy, in your question, you know, now we're going to see. We're going to see whether they can right the ship, whether they can, you know, take some mortar and begin to fill these cracks and get it right. You know, because if they come out and struggle against this team, I saw someone said in the chat, BS, you know, win is not a win. You know, this is a get right game for this team in every facet. You know, if they don't come out and dominate this football team, you know, I don't know. I mean, the conversation will continue to go along the line that has been going for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. Do what you're supposed to do. That's what they should do today. Adam, what's your prediction for today's matchup?
Man, I've gone big on every single prediction, and I'm not going to deviate from that because I do believe in Jalen Hurts. So I may be a little shaky on some of the confidence in the locker room and how people are talking, but Jalen Hurts is a winner. I think this kid's going to come out. Hopefully he doesn't do what people are talking about. Hopefully he plays the right way and he plays the game that's going to help them win. I'm going to say 37-13 Eagles.
37-13. I'm loving that if that's what it comes down to. And Adam, I'm going to ask these gentlemen the same question. In your childhood, what was the best Christmas present Adam Malamut, little Adam, ever got for Christmas?
Am I supposed to say a Seth Joyner jersey? That wouldn't be my childhood, though. I'm not that.
That's
much
cold-blooded.
I was about to say that's a lie.
I'm not that much younger. Listen, as a kid, I loved, as you guys know, I have a show with my son, the Real Chase. I loved sports cards. So anything sports related for me as a kid, I was all over.
All right. Fair enough. Adam, thank you so much. I've got your prediction down, my friend. Merry Christmas to you, your in-laws, and your beautiful Sprinter van Malamut one that I am so envious of.
Listen, when we get back together, we'll do dinner. We'll take the van out. We'll do some dinner.
I'm holding you to that, my friend. Thanks so much, brother.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you.
See you. Adam Malamut joining us here on the Malamut pregame show. All right, let's jump into it. Yeah, go ahead, Seth.
If we do that, it will not be, a Sprinter van. It will be a party van.
Well played. Yes, it would be. It would absolutely be a party van. As long as I'm not driving, I'm cool with whatever you call it. You know what I'm saying? All right, Bill, I'll start with you. First, what was the best Christmas present little Billy Colarulo got when he was a kid?
It was the original Nintendo, my man. Changed my life. Little Super Mario Brothers, and then Tecmo Bowl. That was Nintendo, man. It was the best back then.
Yeah.
Now,
little sweep to Bo Jackson, you're good to go.
Oh, it was the best. Yeah, the Raiders were awesome on that game, the Tecmo Bowl game. But then I also liked Blades of Steel. Do you remember that game, the ice hockey game, Blades of Steel? Hits the pass.
I'm sorry. Yeah, he hits the pass. He hits the pass. Yeah, and then you could practice fighting. It was the best.
Seth's like, what the hell are you guys talking about?
you guys are still so wet behind the ears. Tecmo Bowl, really?
Oh, it was the best. It was the best. But I'll give you my prediction for today.
All right.
I said it earlier. Tommy DeVito and this Giants offense isn't very good. And I know the Eagles defense has been bad all year, but I do expect them to be able to get sacks against a team that's given up a ton of them. Giants are averaging 17 points per game. That's what I have them scoring today, 17 points. I think the Philadelphia Eagles offense, I want to see them dominate, but I still think you're going to see some ups and downs with the offense. I hope I'm wrong, but I have them putting up enough points, 27 points. I got them winning this game 27-17, not covering. So if you guys are betting the game, I wouldn't take it. There's a lot of points going to that Giants team, but I have the Eagles winning 27-17, and we'll feel a little bit better when we get to the postgame show.
Fair enough. I will answer my own question. I will say the best gift I ever got when I was a kid was, believe it or not, a punching bag. I just got into the movie Rocky. I was like 8 years old, and sure enough, my parents actually bought me a heavy bag. First grade, Marc Farzetta, obsessed with Rocky, got a heavy bag, and I still have it to this day. It was a real deal, like Everlast punching bag, and I still have it, still use it occasionally, and it's fantastic. I'm going to go big today, folks. I'm going to go big. I'm going 42-13. Eagles win this game, and we all feel – look, I want these to be get-right games. I want these to be as close to what the third preseason game used to be, where you just get to work on your own stuff. You're not even worried about the opponent across the way. I'm going big on this Christmas. I want this to be a great Christmas gift to the Delaware Valley, to Eagles fans everywhere. And I want them to get after Tommy DeVito, who's probably going to be playing today with a belly full of smelts. And he's going to be weighed down by that fried smelt. And he's going to go down. I'm going 7 sacks again on Tommy DeVito. He's not going to be able to do this so much in celebration today, but this and his offensive lineman, where's the help? That's what's going to happen today. Seth, best Christmas gift, and what's your prediction?
Listen, man, you guys, I'm going to show you guys, how old I am, okay? Best Christmas gift ever, Rock'em Sock'em Robot. Now go look it up, because both of you guys are looking at me like, what the hell is that?
No, I got one at a vintage store one time.
I'm telling you, man, back in the day, to punch that guy under the chin and make his neck go up was just like, was music to a youngster like mine's ears. Best ever. So let's talk about these Eagles. This is a game that they should dominate, plain and simple. They need a game after the last 4-game stretch, where they can feel confident about themselves. I think that's one of the things that's plaguing them, as a team right now, is they're not very confident. When you get your doors blown off, by 42 points, then you turn around and get your doors blown off the following week by 33 points. Then you lose to a team down the stretch that you should have beat. There's some confidence issues, and I've said it before. I'll say it again. Confidence is the number one element, for professional athletes. If you didn't have the ability, you didn't have the talent, if you didn't have, the skill set, you wouldn't be playing at this level. It comes down to confidence. What you believe. Do you believe that you can beat that guy across from you? Do you believe as a unit that you could dominate that unit across from you? Do you believe as a team that you can beat that team on the other side of the field? And I think the Eagles know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they can beat them, and this is a get-right game for them. I like the Eagles in this game, 32-14. And Bill, hell yeah, they're going to cover.
I like it. I'll take it.
There we go. Everyone, we appreciate you guys taking some time out of your Christmas to spend it with us. It was our pleasure to be with you. We'll be with you again for the halftime show. And, of course, Bill and I and Kayla Santiago and John McMullen will be checking in for the halftime program. And then, of course, we got the post-game show. Bill, Seth, Kayla as well. And I'll be with you there for the Pond Hockey post-game show, so you don't want to miss that also. Until then, Merry Christmas, and yes, as always, go Birds.
Any professional sports coach will tell you there's no substitution for preparation. At Malamut Associates, that is a tenet by which we live. We prepare from day one for victory. Anything less is not acceptable.
Go for the poles and the pools. Go for the oohs and the ahs. Go for the bubbles and the bubbly. Go for the story and the stories. Go for the win. Go to Ocean Casino Resort. Book your trip at theoceanac.com.
Eat chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near, shop, have a beer. Christmas shopping shouldn't be hard. Give your friends a Hooters gift card.
This year, stuff their stockings and yours too with a one-size-fits-all gift card. Buy a $25 Hooters gift card and receive a $5 Santa's bonus card. Make it Hooters for the holidays.
Eat chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near, gift cards are here. Good at Hooters everywhere now. Hooters gifts are always favored.
They're carving them up, and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Any professional sports coach will tell you there's no substitution for preparation. At Malamut Associates, that is a tenet by which we live. We prepare from day one for victory. Anything less is not acceptable.
EAGLES. Eagles.